The vast emptiness of space suddenly filled with the imposing silhouettes of hegemony warships as they entered Earth's solar system. Their hulls gleamed with a metallic purple sheen that had never been seen on human vessels. The flagship, nearly 3 kilometers in length, dwarfed the orbital stations positioned around Earth. Admiral Vix stood on the command deck, his 4 arms folded behind his back as he observed the blue planet through the viewing portal. His scaled skin rippled with anticipation. "Another primitive world to add to our collection," he remarked to his second-in-command. "Preliminary scans show basic spacefaring capabilities, rudimentary weapon systems, standard procedure." The communications officer, a being with translucent skin, raised a hand. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the planet." Vix nodded. "Put it through. Let's see what these humans have to say." The screen illuminated with the image of a human male in a crisp blue uniform adorned with simple insignia. "This is Captain Thomas Reed of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered sovereign Earth space without permission. State your purpose." Vex allowed himself a small smile. The creature looked soft, fragile. No natural armor, no visible evolutionary advantages. Just another species that would soon know its place in the hegemony. "I am Admiral Vix of the Galactic Hegemony. We rule over 300 species across 5,000 worlds. We have come to offer Earth a place in our empire. The terms are simple. Accept our authority, provide resources and troops when required, and you may keep your local governance." Reed's expression remained unchanged. "And if we decline your generous offer?" Vix laughed, a harsh sound that echoed across the command deck. "That would be unwise. The hegemony has never lost a war in its 8,000-year history." The human captain nodded slowly, then did something unexpected. He smiled. "Admiral Vix, I appreciate your directness. Allow me to be equally direct. Earth respectfully declines your offer of vassalage. We have no interest in joining your hegemony." Murmurs spread across the hegemony command deck. Rejection was rare. Most species understood the futility of resistance. Vix stepped closer to the screen, all 4 of his eyes narrowing. "Perhaps I wasn't clear. This isn't a negotiation. Those who refuse peaceful integration face military subjugation. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Your defenses are minimal. Resistance would only bring suffering to your people." Reed nodded again, his calm demeanor unchanged. "We understand the implications. However, I feel obligated to offer you some advice." He paused, looking directly at Vix. "Humans don't lose wars. Check your history books if you have any doubts. We advise you to turn your fleet around and leave our system." Laughter erupted across the hegemony command center. Vix himself couldn't contain his amusement. "You advise us? A species that has barely left its own planet. We're just trying to save lives, Admiral. Yours included." Reed's voice remained even, almost compassionate. "We've studied your kind. You conquer through intimidation and technical superiority. But humans, we're different. War is in our blood. It's what united our planet." Vix waved a dismissive hand. "You have 24 hours to reconsider. After that, we will begin the standard pacification procedures." Reed's expression turned solemn. "Then I must issue one final warning. Run." The transmission ended, leaving the command deck in momentary silence before it erupted in amused chatter. "What a strange creature," Vex's second-in-command remarked. "They seem to actually believe they stand a chance." Vix turned away from the screen. "Prep the first wave. Let's show these humans what real power looks like." As the hegemony ships began their positioning maneuvers, deep beneath Earth's surface, in bunkers hidden from alien scans, humanity's true military might stirred to life. The war that would change the galaxy forever was about to begin. Drell moved quickly through the hegemony flagship's information center, his thin fingers dancing across holographic displays. As Chief Intelligence Officer, he had been tasked with gathering all available data on humans. What he found disturbed him. "Admiral, you should see this," Drell said as Vix entered the room. The displays showed images of human warfare throughout their history. Ancient soldiers with primitive weapons, tanks rolling across battlefields, nuclear explosions, orbital weapons platforms. What am I looking at? Vix asked impatiently. Human history, Admiral. Every major human power achieved dominance through warfare. They have never gone more than 70 years without a major conflict, and their technological advancement during wartime is unprecedented. Vix waved a dismissive hand. All species fight wars. Not like this, Drell insisted. Look at their last global conflict. They developed nuclear weapons, radar, jet aircraft, and countless other technologies in just 6 years. Their adaptation rate is unlike anything in our records. Another officer approached with a datapad. Sir, our scans show their military capabilities are modest. A few hundred orbital defense platforms, a small fleet of interplanetary vessels, basic energy weapons. See, Vix said to Drell, nothing we haven't overcome 100 times before. But sir, enough. Prepare the diplomatic team. I'll give these humans one more chance to submit peacefully. In the sterile meeting room aboard the Hegemony vessel, Dr. Mira Ellis sat calmly across from 3 alien representatives. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, she had been chosen to join the diplomatic party. Your admiral misunderstands us, she explained. Humans don't glorify war. We hate it. But we excel at it precisely because we understand its horror. The Hegemony diplomat, a tall being with iridescent skin, tilted his head. Then submit. Avoid the horror. Ellis smiled sadly. That's not how we work. Threatening us only unites us. Right now, nations that were enemies last year are sharing military technology and strategies. Your presence has accomplished what our leaders could not. Total human cooperation. An interesting perspective, the diplomat replied. But ultimately irrelevant. Your weapons cannot match ours. Perhaps, Ellis acknowledged. But weapons aren't everything. You should study Earth's history more carefully. As the diplomats exchanged empty pleasantries, a situation was developing elsewhere. Admiral, we've lost contact with Patrol Squadron 6. Vix spun around. What? Where were they? Near the human settlement on their 4th planet. Mars, they call it. How many ships? 3 light cruisers, sir. Vix slammed a fist down. Impossible. Those cruisers carry enough firepower to level their entire settlement. A communications officer spoke up. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human station on Mars. The screen lit up showing a dust-covered human in a simple uniform. Behind him, the wreckage of a Hegemony cruiser was visible. This is Commander Wilson of Mars Defense. Your ships entered restricted space and ignored warnings. We defended ourselves. No human casualties. We recovered 62 of your crew alive. We're treating their injuries and will return them at your convenience. The transmission ended before Vix could respond. How? Vix whispered. How did they destroy 3 cruisers? Drell approached cautiously. Sir, initial analysis suggests they used the planet's automated mining equipment, repurposed as weapons. They adapted industrial tools into military use in minutes. Vix's scales darkened with rage. They dare attack us. Prepare all ships for combat. No more diplomacy. As the Hegemony fleet prepared for war, Captain Reed's warning echoed in Vix's mind, but pride outweighed caution. The humans would learn their place. Deep beneath Earth's surface, General Powell addressed the Unified Earth Command. They've made their choice. Activate Defense Protocol Omega, and may whatever gods they worship have mercy on them. Because we won't. The first real battle for Earth was about to begin. The Hegemony attack began at dawn. Thousands of ships filled Earth's skies, their weapons charging as they positioned themselves above major population centers. Admiral Vix watched from his command ship, satisfaction evident in his posture. Begin the standard conquest protocol, he ordered. Target their military installations first, then government centers. Show them the futility of resistance. The first wave of energy beams sliced through Earth's atmosphere, creating brilliant purple streaks against the blue sky. Vix expected to see explosions, destruction, and the beginning of humanity's surrender. Instead, something unexpected happened. The beams struck what appeared to be empty air, dispersing harmlessly in flashes of light. Across the planet, invisible shields became momentarily visible as they absorbed the attacks. "What is happening?" Vix demanded. "Where did these shields come from?" "They weren't in our scans." His tactical officer worked frantically at the console. "Unknown technology, sir. They appear to be some kind of adaptive energy dispersal system. Nothing like this exists in our records." "Impossible," Vix hissed. "Increase power. Break through them." The hegemony ships intensified their attacks. The shields began to flicker in places, but held. Then Earth struck back. "Multiple launches detected," shouted the sensor officer, projectiles rising from all continents. "Primitive missiles," Vix said dismissively. "Target and destroy them." But these weren't ordinary missiles. They moved erratically, changing course in ways that defied the hegemony targeting systems. And they were fast, impossibly fast. The first hegemony ship exploded in a spectacular ball of fire as a missile struck its engine core. Two more followed within seconds. The fleet's defensive systems, designed to counter energy weapons, struggled against these simple kinetic attacks. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Earth," the communications officer announced, voice shaking. Commander James Walker appeared on screen, seated in what appeared to be an underground command center. Unlike Captain Reed's polite demeanor, Walker's expression was hard, determined. "This is your only warning," he stated flatly. "You have 1 hour to retreat beyond the orbit of our moon. Any ships remaining will be destroyed." Vix snarled. "You dare threaten the hegemony? We will turn your planet to ash." Walker showed no reaction to the threat. "We warned you to run. You chose not to listen." He checked his watch. 59 minutes remaining. The screen went dark. "Arrogant creatures," Vix spat. "Launch all fighters. Target their missile silos." The hegemony fighters descended toward Earth, only to be met by swarms of small, agile human craft that seemed to appear from nowhere. What should have been an easy victory turned into chaos as the human pilots displayed flying skills that bordered on suicidal, yet devastatingly effective. "Admiral," his second-in-command said urgently, "we've lost contact with our 3 lead battleships." "How?" Vix demanded. "Unknown, sir. They simply disappeared." In orbit around Mars, hidden from hegemony sensors, those 3 battleships floated dead in space, their systems disabled by specialized electromagnetic weapons fired from stealth platforms. As the hour deadline approached, Vix faced an unthinkable scenario. 7 capital ships destroyed, dozens of fighters lost, and not a single significant hit on Earth's defenses. "Sir," the tactical officer said quietly, "perhaps we should consider a strategic withdrawal to reassess." Vix slammed his fist down. "Never. The hegemony does not retreat." At that moment, alarms blared across the command ship. Multiple new contacts. They're everywhere. Earth's hidden orbital fleet decloaked simultaneously, hundreds of warships that had been concealed in plain sight. They had been there all along, waiting. Earth's unified governments broadcast a single message to the hegemony fleet. "We warned you. It's not too late to retreat." Vix stared at the screen in disbelief as human ships surrounded his fleet. For the first time in his long military career, he felt something unfamiliar. Fear. Admiral Vix paced the command deck, his scales shifting from purple to a dark gray, a sign of deep distress among his species. The holographic displays showed a battle that defied all hegemony military doctrine. "They should be defending their population centers," he muttered. "Why are they abandoning cities to protect empty land?" The tactical officer looked up from his station. "Sir, we're detecting unusual movement patterns. The humans appear to be everywhere and nowhere. The hegemony had deployed its standard conquest protocol, targeting military bases, command centers, and population hubs. But human forces refused to defend in conventional ways. When the hegemony attacked a city, they'd found it empty. When they targeted a military base, it was abandoned, but booby-trapped. Another carrier lost. Admiral, reported the damage control officer. That's the 5th capital ship today. How? Vix demanded. How are they doing this? The intelligence officer, Drell, approached cautiously. Sir, I've analyzed their tactics. They're using something from their history called guerrilla warfare. Small, mobile units striking quickly then disappearing. And their psychological operations are effective. On cue, the communications array suddenly activated. Every screen on every hegemony ship displayed the same image. Historical footage of human wars throughout history. Napoleon's march. World War trenches. Desert tanks. Urban combat. The message was clear. Humans had been perfecting warfare for millennia. Shut it off, Vix ordered. How are they in our systems? The chief engineer worked frantically at his console. Unknown, sir. Their AI systems are adaptable. They keep finding new access points faster than we can close them. Meanwhile, on Earth, General Diana Powell stood in the central command bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Screens displayed the ongoing space battle, where Earth's hidden fleet was outmaneuvering the numerically superior hegemony forces. Activate Phase 2, she ordered calmly. Across the solar system, hidden weapons platforms that had been disguised as asteroids suddenly came to life. Weapons that the hegemony had never encountered before. Gravity distortion fields, quantum disruptors, and nanite clouds began systematically disabling alien ships without destroying them. Back on the flagship, Vex received increasingly desperate reports. Sir, ground forces report humans using primitive projectile weapons. Vix looked confused. Their bullets can't penetrate our armor. Yes, sir, but they're not aiming at armor. They target joints, visors, weapon ports. They study our weaknesses and exploit them, and they adapt so quickly. Another officer interrupted. Admiral, we've intercepted transmissions. The humans are sharing information. Every encounter with our forces is analyzed, weaknesses identified, and countermeasures distributed globally within minutes. Drell spoke up again. Sir, there's something else. The humans appear to be capturing our technology. They're not just destroying it, they're studying it. Vex felt a chill. In 8,000 years of conquest, no species had ever thought to do that. They always just tried to destroy what they couldn't understand. Sir, the communications officer said hesitantly, the Galactic Council is requesting an update on the human pacification. Vic stared at the battle displays. 1/3 of his fleet was disabled or destroyed. Ground forces reported capture rates of over 60%, and still, not one significant human military asset had been confirmed destroyed. Tell them, he began, but was interrupted by alarms. Multiple new energy signatures. The humans have activated something on their moon. The lunar surface seemed to open up, revealing a massive cannon that had been hidden beneath the regolith. It fired once, a blindingly bright beam that cut through 3 hegemony battleships before they could even raise shields. Impossible, Vix whispered. That weapon, it's using our own technology, but improved. On Earth, General Powell received confirmation of the lunar cannon's successful deployment. Send the message, she ordered. Throughout the hegemony fleet, a simple text message appeared on every device. This is not our full strength. Last chance to retreat. For the first time in his career, Admiral Vix considered the unthinkable. Defeat. Operation Thunderbolt commences in 3 minutes, announced General Powell. Her voice, calm and steady, belied the enormity of what was about to happen. Around her, the command center hummed with focused activity. Officers monitored screens showing hegemony ship positions while tactical specialists finalized the attack vectors. No one spoke unnecessarily. There was no need for false bravado. Humans had been preparing for this moment since they first looked to the stars. In orbit, the remaining hegemony fleet had regrouped into a defensive formation. Admiral Vix had lost nearly 40% of his ships, but still commanded enough firepower to reduce Earth's surface to molten slag. "They've stopped attacking," Vix observed, watching the human fleet maintain distance. Perhaps they finally realized the futility of resistance. His new second-in-command, promoted after the previous one was killed in action, appeared less certain. "Sir, our intelligence suggests they may be planning something." "Of course they are," Vix snapped. "But what can they possibly do against our remaining strength?" The answer came exactly 3 minutes later. Across the solar system, hidden human assets activated simultaneously. From Mars, Jupiter's moons, and even the asteroid belt, previously undetected weapons platforms locked onto hegemony command ships. "Multiple energy spikes," shouted the hegemony sensor officer. "They're everywhere." Before Vix could respond, precision beams struck his fleet's communication nodes, cutting off coordination between ships. Simultaneously, Earth's orbital platforms revealed devastating new weapons technology, gravitational disruptors that twisted space itself, tearing hegemony vessels apart without explosive force. "Shields failing. We can't." The tactical officer's words were cut short as his console exploded. Vix staggered as his flagship shuddered under multiple impacts. "Return fire. All batteries." But the hegemony's once coordinated fleet was now in disarray. Without central communication, ship captains fell back on standard protocols, which humans had studied and prepared for. Earth's combined fleet, led by Admiral Robert Chen, executed perfectly choreographed attack patterns that exploited the hegemony's rigid command structure. "They're breaking formation," Chen observed from his flagship. "Execute Phase 2. Smaller human vessels darted between the hegemony capital ships, exploiting blind spots in their defenses. They didn't try to destroy the massive vessels. They targeted engines, weapons systems, and sensors. Aboard hegemony ships, chaos spread for another reason. Alien troops who had witnessed humans fight were refusing orders to prepare for ground invasion. "They're not natural," one squad leader told his commander. "Did you see what they did on Mars? Fighting in those conditions without protection. It's suicide." News of human resilience had spread through the fleet, along with footage of captured hegemony soldiers being treated humanely by their captors, contrary to what they'd been told would happen. As Vix struggled to regain control of his fleet, Professor Alan Reeves activated Earth's final psychological operation. Every communication device on every hegemony ship began broadcasting the same message: a detailed history of human warfare, from ancient battles to modern conflicts, narrated in the hegemony's own language. "We have fought each other for thousands of years," the broadcast explained. "Every weapon you have, we developed to use against ourselves. Every tactic you know, we perfected in our own blood. War is not something we do. It is something we are." The broadcast ended with a simple question: why fight an enemy who has never known peace? On 27 hegemony vessels, alien crews turned against their commanders, refusing to continue what they now saw as a hopeless battle. Vix watched in horror as his fleet disintegrated before him, not just physically, but morally. The unthinkable was happening. The hegemony, undefeated for 8 millennia, was losing. "Sir," his communications officer said, voice trembling, "the human admiral is hailing us." Chen's face appeared on screen, his expression neither triumphant nor angry, just determined. "This ends now," he said simply. "Surrender or be destroyed. Your choice." The hegemony High Council chamber had never been so quiet. 12 alien leaders, representing the oldest and most powerful species in the Alliance, sat in stunned silence as they watched the battle footage from Earth. "Impossible," whispered Counselor Traz, his luminescent tendrils dimming with shock. Half our invasion fleet defeated. Grand Strategist Kalor rose from his seat, his metallic exoskeleton clicking as he moved to the central display. Not defeated. Not yet. Admiral Vix still commands significant forces. But for how long? Asked another counselor. These humans, they fight like nothing we've encountered. Kalor's eyes narrowed. Then we must fight like nothing they've encountered. I propose the Omega Protocol. The chamber erupted in alarmed voices. The Omega Protocol had never been implemented in the hegemony's history. A desperate measure involving the sacrifice of multiple capital ships to deliver a planet-killing weapon. We have no choice, Kalor insisted. The humans must be eliminated. Not conquered, eliminated. If knowledge of our defeat spreads, other worlds will rebel. After heated debate, the Council voted. The decision was made. The Omega Protocol would be deployed against Earth. Admiral Vix received the coded transmission in his private chamber. His hands trembled as he read the orders. Even he, hardened by centuries of conquest, hesitated at the thought of using such a weapon. Sir, his executive officer stood at the doorway. The Council's orders. Vix straightened his posture. Prepare the Sunbreaker. We will deploy it immediately. As the massive weapon was readied, Vix addressed his remaining captains via secure channel. This device will crack the humans' planet like an egg. We will position our remaining fleet to deliver it directly to Earth's core. Many of you will not survive the approach, but your sacrifices will be remembered for eternity. None of the captains objected. They had all seen what human weapons could do. Better to die in a final glorious attack than face the shame of defeat. In Earth's command center, Lieutenant Maria Knox frowned at her sensor readings. General, the hegemony fleet is repositioning. They're forming a spear formation. General Powell studied the tactical display. That's a suicide run. They're going to try to punch through our defenses all at once. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the main screen. We're detecting massive energy readings from their flagship. They've activated some kind of superweapon. Powell's expression remained calm, but her eyes hardened. They're desperate. Good. Spring the trap. Throughout the command center, officers exchanged knowing glances. The trap had been set days ago, when human intelligence first predicted this exact scenario. The hegemony fleet surged forward, shields at maximum, all weapons firing simultaneously to clear a path. At their center, the Sunbreaker began to glow with building energy. Maintain formation. Vix ordered. Push through their defenses. The human fleet appeared to scatter before the onslaught, their ships breaking formation. They run, shouted a hegemony captain. Vix wasn't convinced. Stay alert. This is too easy. His suspicion proved correct when the fleeing human ships suddenly reversed course, forming a perfect circle around the hegemony formation. From the dark side of Earth's moon, dozens of previously hidden vessels appeared, completing the encirclement. It's a trap, Vix realized too late. The human ships fired simultaneously, not at the hegemony vessels, but at points in space around them. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then space itself collapsed. Human scientists had deployed artificial gravity wells, creating a complex web that trapped the hegemony fleet in a region of distorted spacetime. Ships crashed into each other as normal maneuvering became impossible. The Sunbreaker, its power building beyond safety limits with no release, began to destabilize. Shut it down, Vix ordered frantically. We can't, sir. The containment fields are failing. As Vix watched in horror, his superweapon began to consume itself from within. He had just enough time to send one final message to the High Council. The humans knew. They were waiting for us. The Sunbreaker imploded, taking most of the remaining hegemony fleet with it. The Grand Council chamber of the hegemony had never hosted beings from outside their alliance before. Yet today, 5 humans stood before the 12 most powerful beings in the galaxy. The chamber, designed to intimidate with its towering architecture and dramatic lighting, seemed to have no effect on the human representatives. Captain Thomas Reed led the small delegation, standing straight in his formal uniform. Behind him stood General Powell, Admiral Chen, Dr. Ellis, and Professor Reeves, the key architects of humanity's defense. Before them, seated in a semicircle, the Hegemony Council watched with a mixture of fear, curiosity, and resentment. High Counselor Traz spoke first. For 8,000 years, no species has defeated the hegemony in open warfare. Until now. Reed nodded simply. We tried to avoid the conflict. We warned you. Yes. Traz's voice carried a hint of bitterness. You told us to run. A warning we should have heeded. Admiral Vix stood to the side, one of the few surviving fleet commanders. His once proud posture was now bent with the weight of defeat. He had been spared to deliver the terms of surrender personally to the Council. The humans request terms that are unusual, Vix said. They do not demand territory. They do not seek reparations. They ask only for recognition of Earth and its colonies as a sovereign power, outside hegemony control. Murmurs spread through the Council. This was unprecedented. In hegemony history, victors took. They did not simply ask for peace. Grand Strategist Kaylor leaned forward. And what prevents us from rebuilding our forces and returning? Your technology, while impressive, cannot match our industrial capacity. Professor Reeves stepped forward. We should clarify something. He activated a holographic display showing dozens of small objects throughout hegemony space. These are human stealth vessels. They were deployed before the first shot was fired. Each carries what we call a Nova device. The Council members shifted uncomfortably as they realized the implications. We never intended to conquer you, General Powell explained. That's not our way, but we will not be conquered either. Then what do you want? Asked Traz. To be left alone, Reed answered simply, and perhaps when you're ready, to establish trade and cultural exchange as equals, not as rulers and subjects. The Council conferred briefly before Traz spoke again. Your terms are accepted. Earth and its territories will be recognized as sovereign space. The hegemony will not attempt further military action against humans. The formal treaty was signed with little ceremony. As the Council members departed, Vix approached Reed privately. There's something I must know, the Admiral said. You could have destroyed us completely. Why didn't you? Reed studied the alien's face. War is our last resort, not our first. We always offer a chance to avoid bloodshed. But you're so good at it, Vix said. Your species fights with a natural talent that disturbs me. Dr. Ellis joined them. Because we hate war, Admiral. We know its cost better than most. Every advancement in our warfare came from trying to end conflicts faster, with fewer casualties. The best warriors are those who wish never to fight. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Professor Reeves overheard two hegemony officials speaking quietly. We should study them, learn their ways of war. No, the other replied firmly. We should learn their ways of peace. That's the true lesson here. 6 months later, Earth welcomed its first official hegemony diplomatic mission. Trade routes opened. Cultural exchanges began. Humans started to travel to distant worlds, bringing with them ideas that many hegemony species found revolutionary. Concepts of individual rights, democratic governance, and cooperative defense. Throughout the galaxy, a new saying spread among species who had once feared only the hegemony. Don't fight the humans. Learn from them instead. On a small asteroid base at the edge of human space, Captain Reed met with Admiral Vix, now serving as the hegemony's ambassador to Earth. They stood watching ships from a dozen worlds dock at the trading station. You know, Reed said thoughtfully, sometimes the best way to win a war is to make it unnecessary in the first place. Vix nodded slowly, a lesson 8,000 years overdue for my people. When you warned us to run, we should have listened. Now I understand why. Reed smiled. It's never too late to learn, even for an empire.